Hello everyone, and let's talk about some misleading polling that inflates support for the new administration's recent return to office mandate for all federal employees. The headline from the center square roars with certainty, proclaiming that a majority of Americans applaud President Donald Trump's order forcing every federal employee back to the office. But in paragraph 3, when we look at what the poll actually says, we see that only 43% support a full federal return to office. 27% back only essential workers returning, which was already required under Biden. It's not like essential workers were actually not required to be in the office. So in reality, 27% of the people back the current status quo, and the rest are unsure or oppose a return to office at all for federal employees. Only 43% back Trump's policies, in other words. 57% don't back Trump's policies. The article merges distinct responses, those who back essentially essential workers returning, that's Biden's policy, with the 27% who do that, with 43% who support a full federal return to office. Misleading math replaces nuance with a political narrative. The structure conceals dissent and fabricates a false consensus. The headline, the article, is an anchor that misguides perception. So what is the center square? It bills itself as the new and better version of AP, a wire service that offers free content to struggling local news outlets. Local papers reprint without edits or context checks. For example, right here in Ohio, the Highland County Press and a number of other similar newspapers around the country actually did exactly that within hours of the poll's release. Headlining tagged no context. Now we know that research by Gallup and the Knight Foundation found that Americans exhibit more than twice as much trust for local papers as they do for national media. So when a partisan story flows through the trust channel, skepticism plunges. Trust in local media obscures the partisan, false narrative nature of news stories distributed by the center square and other similar misleading partisan wire services. Readers think stories are vetted, whereas they're not. Layoffs at local newspapers eliminate verification, allowing bias to flow freely. Syndication models exploits that local trust to scale influence. In fact, when you look at the center square, the backers of the center square are conservative. So very clearly conservative, small government, anti-union, very much folks who would support Trump's return to office mandate. So the solution is to, of course, have more enforcement if possible of checking for verification, but we can't do that with the current government regulations. So you need, dear reader, need to do your own work. Read the original survey questions, not the summaries, not the articles. Watch for overlapping or conflated response categories, as we see here. Very false, misleading narrative. Do your own math to reveal the real public distribution. The newspaper sources generally will not lie about what people actually said in the poll. They will lie about what the poll implies, what the poll indicates. Compare it against credible polls. For example, AP did a poll in January 2025 showing that only 40% support Trump's full return to office mandate. Use that and scrutiny as tools for actual attention and verification. Write letters to the editor. Make sure to write letters to the editor when you see such misleading things being printed. Alert them to data manipulation and misleading headlines. Request that they actually look at the poll and correct the context. Take the pro-truth pledge yourself at protruthpledge.org and encourage staff at newspapers, the editors, the journalists, and the newspaper itself as an organization to take the pro-truth pledge. Make sure that you recognize that most journalists want to do a good job. They reprint things that seem good because they don't have time to do verification. So you do the verification for them and hold them accountable and embarrass them if they actually print something that's BS, as was the case here. Make sure that they know that you are watching and actually watch them. Small acts of reader vigilance will strengthen the core of journalism. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. Please make sure to subscribe wherever you checked out the show and leave a review. It helps other people discover the show and helps us improve the show.